Oh, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the MrWarrenHayes Show. I, of course, am MrWarrenHayes, and I'm back from a week where I disappeared because, well, life stuff. I had to move, and I moved, and I'm back this week to talk about professional wrestling. It is the 7th of July, 2022, and I'm glad that you're joining me. Glad that you're joining me wherever you decide to watch the MrWarrenHayes Show or listen to it. For instance, watching it on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, right here, video on demand. If you could, this would be great. Look, if you could do this, it'd be awesome. Leave a like on this video. Leave a comment on this video as well. That kind of stuff helps out quite a bit, and it's really, really appreciated. Why don't you subscribe to the MrWarrenHayes Show channel? That's also awesome. Why don't you become a member of the MrWarrenHayes Show channel? That stuff is great as well. Little ways to show some support right here on the YouTube channel, which I am truly appreciative of. Plus, you might be listening to this on your favorite podcast application. Well, there's ways to show some support there as well. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That's really cool and really easy to do, and it helps grow the podcast as well. 5-star ratings on Spotify as well help out a great deal. Whatever, or on whatever application that you're using, there's ways, likes, favorites, subscriptions, whatever. Show any kind of love, and that thing, whatever you do, will help out a great deal. And like I said, if you leave a comment here on YouTube, I'll chit chat with you. We'll have a discussion. I like talking about wrestling. Why would I stop when I turn off the microphone? I want to continue talking about it with you guys. So let's have a chat. Let's talk about things that are on your mind. There's all sorts of stuff happening in wrestling all the time. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say. Now, if you're watching the video right now, you'll see immediately I'm in an entirely different setup. And I know my audio is not optimal right now. Let's put it that way. But I appreciate, I appreciate you listening, of course, but I will get this set up. Like I'm trying some stuff out with this new setup. It's a very different room with very different acoustics. So I'm trying some stuff out, but I know right now it's maybe not optimal, but thank you for bearing with me is what I'm trying to say. I'll try and get this sorted out as best as I can for next week's episode. Fingers crossed. But in the meantime, enjoy this episode right here because I'll be talking about that Christian Cage promo from AEW Dynamite. Be talking about Liv Morgan and Money in the Bank. Be talking about Wardlow winning and the New Japan press conference with all that news that came out of it. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening there, so pretty packed show. Join the MrWarrenHayes Discord if you like talking about wrestling on a daily basis as well, because that's right there. I think we're good to go. Let's jump right into the podcast. Let's do something else nice that I have to say about Bill Goldberg.
Warren Hayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
I want to wish a congratulations to Bill Goldberg for on the anniversary, 24 years ago, the anniversary of winning the WCW World Heavyweight title, July 6, 1998, in the Georgia Dome. Congratulations to his first world title win, which unknowingly set in motion the series of events that would lead to the downfall of WCW.
Warren Hayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
Look, here's the thing. Look, it's excuse me. It's about the most legitimate compliment, right? Because it was his first win. He was U.S. champion at the time. He relinquished the title. I'm not doing one more. It was his first. It was his first win, right? As champion. But outside of all the stuff, I think more importantly, like on top of it all, I think this was a turning moment, and that still exists today when it comes to pro wrestling, it was Hogan versus Goldberg, and they were giving it away on Nitro on a Monday night on TNT. They made huge business in the Georgia Dome, but on a TV, like on free TV cable. You know what I mean when I say free TV. You're not paying for a pay-per-view is what I'm saying, right? You know what I mean when I say free TV. I know cable's not free. So, it's interesting because back then, and I remember this very, very clearly, everyone was losing their shit. And it was like, why the hell are they giving this away? Why aren't they, why aren't we paying for this? Why aren't they putting this on the pay-per-view? They're leaving money on the table, so on and so forth. And, Goldberg versus Hogan isn't necessarily the turning point in that era where it's like, oh, you have to give away big matches on TV because the ratings are important because of ad revenue back then. It wasn't about licensing as it is today, but it was a lot about the ad revenue. It was about the ratings and so on and so forth. But I think that this, it's a moment that sticks out because this was legitimately WCW's biggest match, and they were giving it away on television. They weren't asking you to pay $30, $40, whatever it was at the time, to watch this match. They were like, no, here you go. And I think this is a mentality that that clearly has continued to this day. Because I'm telling you, and especially I feel these days, and particularly in regards to AEW, we're spoiled when it comes to getting quality television wrestling on a week-to-week basis. I don't think there's any time. I think this is the richest moment in history, in wrestling, in televised wrestling history, that we're to get such quality, top-notch matches week after week after week with nary a stinker anymore. It's just wild, and you see in the chat, people are remembering as well. That's how it was. People were losing their minds. The pundits didn't understand. Money left on the table, so on and so forth. But it's one of these things that changed the game. And today, today the challenge is different because because if you're in the licensing game like WWE is, you have to walk that thin line between giving your matches on your pay-per-views or your PLEs, whatever, if you're going for big payouts or subscriptions, extra subs, whatever. Because ultimately what you're doing is you're generating more value for your product, so that when you license it out, you can boast about bigger ratings, leaders in the demos at this day, this hour, so on and so forth, and the growth that you're able to show that there is indeed tangible licensing opportunities for your product to broadcasters. So it's a whole different game where, and you still want to keep some big matches for the pay-per-views, but sometimes you have to dump the big ones on TV. That's one thing that the Monday Night Wars have changed forever, and it's still the thing today. It's still very much the thing today. So, Goldberg winning back then was pivotal. Again, the idea of giving away big matches on TV was still a thing, but the biggest match, like this was the biggest match that WCW had in its pocket still. That was the one, Goldberg, Hogan. And they filled up the Georgia Dome for a fucking Monday Nitro. It's amazing, Let's get into some news, why don't we? The Wrestling Entertainment Series cancels its very first show. Surprise! I don't know I didn't really talk about it. because I had a feeling this was going to go down this route. This route? What do we say? Route? It doesn't matter. Or does it? What do you guys say, chat? Route or route? Route? It doesn't matter. Look, honestly, I'm going to move on. The Wrestling Entertainment Series were supposed to hold their show this Saturday in Nottingham, England. And the group yesterday being July 6th, issued a statement, which I will read to you. Dear fans and followers, I appreciate that they made a distinction. You know, that one does not equate the other. Dear fans and followers, unfortunately, we will have to cancel. I love the passive voice here. You know, the passive voice is like, we will have to cancel, as opposed to we will cancel. We will have to cancel. We are canceling. We have to cancel. We will have to cancel. The event scheduled for this Saturday at the Motorpoint Arena in Nottingham, England. We are deeply disappointed in the news that we have to share, but with so many talent not showing up, we will have no choice than to cancel the event. Our team has worked so hard on this event, day in and day out, for the fans to come with a different type of wrestling event and believe that we still will be able to show that in the near future. That was a sentence. What do we want to say that all our talent that was scheduled have been paid in full, and that Lena Fanane, I don't know how to pronounce her name. This is the Nia Jax, right? Formerly known as Nia Jax. Fanine. I'm going to go with Fanine. Lena Fanine was paid her deposit as well, while she changed her mind and did not want to show up and wrestle anymore. For now, we will have to apologize for this. But for now, but we promise that it will not end here. See you soon, Team Wes. I thought that it was very interesting that they felt more compelled to take a shot at Nia Jax, who had come out, saying, I'm not going to the event. It's, this is being weird, so on and so forth. She called them out. So I find it interesting that they decided to call her out on this announcement, as opposed to like things that really matter. For instance, advising ticket holders that they are going to be refunded. They put out a tweet after, a couple of hours later, when people were like, "Yeah, but are people being refunded? This is a bad announcement, bruh." Don't ever let me say that again, please. And I'm gonna read this off of the Post Wrestling article here, written up by John Pollock here. The statement has drawn criticism for blaming talent for not appearing. This was the second time that WES was unable to deliver on a show after moving last month's event to this weekend. And this is something that we need to remember here, because the first event was scheduled in May, right? And they postponed it just a couple of days again before the event was supposed to take place. This is an article off of Figure 4 Online. Just days before it was supposed to take place, Wrestling Entertainment Series has postponed its debut show. WES was supposed to launch with an event at the Motorpoint Arena in Nottingham, England this Saturday, June 4. But the promotion announced today that the event has been pushed back to Saturday, July 9. This was May 31st, so it really was at the start of June. Wrestling Entertainment Series is being launched by Zim Selmani and Sunny Dinsa, formerly, the authors of Pain, right, in WWE. They set out a press release saying that they were going to get everything was going to be okay. Now, you know, maybe not running a 10,000 seat arena for your first show might have been a good idea to sort of keep your expectations in check. 10,000 people. There's arenas, venues that AEW or WWE can't even sell out. That big. What made them so sure that they were going to do it? Especially using, on the back of the main event, which was what's his name? Alistair Overeem, right? Former washed up MMA fighter or boxer or whatever. And Moose. Like, that's your main event. And the previous show, before it was moved around, the main event was Adam Scherr versus Alistair Overeem. So clearly they were like, Overeem is going to put butts in seats. Clearly not. They had the women's championship match on the last show, Nia Jax versus Lana, CJ Perry. You've got the Authors of Pain versus Wesley Blake and Steve Cutler, Karrion Kross versus Kalisto versus Jonah. You were supposed to get Madison Rayne and Tennille Dashwood versus Deonna Purrazzo and Chelsea Green. Mojo Rawley versus Lindsay Dorado. Mike Bennett versus Biff Busick. Dirty Dango versus No Way Jose. And I mean, the card that they had set up was a fraction of what they had here. They had a few people from that show on here, but it's a disaster is what it is. And then you even had Matthew Rehwoldt, who put out some statements over being ghosted by the promotion as he was, seeking information about the promotion. Look, this was ill-advised from the start. This was doomed from the get-go. I don't know what to tell you. This was a bad idea. And, I'm all for, here's the thing. It's like, I'm all for wrestlers having more opportunities to work. I think, if there are more promotions out there and wrestlers are able to get more work, I think, that's a winning situation right there. I don't think there's any reason why we should poo-poo that. But, not everyone's going to make it. And this isn't the first time that wrestlers or a promotion sort of pops up out of nowhere and says, we're going to do all of this. And then it never happens. And what sucks is that there are wrestlers who are who are losing out on money for the weekend because I don't think everyone was paid in full. I really don't think everyone was paid in full because Mojo Rawley, right? He decided that he was going to do a free meet and greet because he was already in London. He says, look, I'm here with my girlfriend. I'm going to hang around. If anyone wants to do a free meet and greet, come and see me. And look, I'll collect some donations. And whoever wants to, and the money that I collect, I'll give it back to, some of the wrestlers who were supposed to get paid and aren't. And I'm like, all right. And that's a classy move by Mojo. I'm not going to lie. But it really does mean that there are some people who are just missing out. And that stinks. That really stinks. PW Insider earlier today reported, it's a report, it's a rumor, it's a, you know what, you guys know the drill by now, that Sasha Banks and Naomi have been removed from WWE's internal roster over the past 24 hours. Here is the article, the blurb. I don't even want to call it an article. It's like, it's a glorified tweet, if we're being honest. Over on PW Insider, Mike Johnson reports, while there has been no official indication they have been released, PWInsider.com can confirm that both Sasha Banks and Naomi were removed from WWE's internal roster over the last 24 hours. We have heard rumblings Bank may be doing some signings outside of WWE this fall as well, but again, no official confirmation. So no, there still is no official confirmation as it stands right now as to whether or not Sasha and Naomi are still with the company or not. You'll remember, I think it was last week, getting a little hasty because of the move. But I think it was last week that news had come out that Sasha had been released. Yeah, no, it was Raj Giri, right? Raj Giri. Why did I say Giri? I know how to pronounce his name. What am I? It was Raj Giri from Wrestling Inc. who said that apparently the release had come from a vice president of legal affairs, right? I might be remembering this wrong. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Saying that Sasha had been given her walking papers, she's good to go. But we haven't heard of any official word by WWE. And you know what? They're going to try and keep this as fucking quiet as they can. Because you know what? They know this is fucking embarrassing for them to be in a position where they're like, one of the real deal top stars in the company was so fed up with us that she got her lawyers involved so she could leave the company. This is the story, right? Again, this is all hearsay and anything could look. This is wrestling. Things change on a dime. I would not be surprised if in a couple of months Sasha suddenly pops back on WWE TV. And I honestly don't think this is a work. Don't get me wrong. I don't think this is a work in any way, shape, or form. But things in wrestling, in the entertainment business, I've seen weirder. I've seen weirder than this. Okay. So, but as it stands right now, it's looking more and more plausible that they're gone. And, I checked before coming on, before doing the pre-stream tonight. I checked to make sure that they were still on the roster page. They still are. I don't know what to think of it, man. I really don't. I really, really don't. I still think that this is an entire mess. It is a complete and utter mess for WWE. I don't know how you slip up on Sasha Banks. I really don't. I really, really honestly don't. And at what point can I start talking about WWE missing another golden opportunity by not doing a fatal four-way between the four horsewomen? At what moment can I start complaining about that? Because WWE, they love to leave money on the table. They just love these missed opportunities that their fans would love. They missed their shot at a triple threat WrestleMania main event between the former members of the Shield. And I'm not talking like just before Mox left, right? When he came back and so on. This is what they should have done. Put all three members of the Shield in the main event. They've all won world titles since. They've all become big stars. That would have been a needle mover. That would have sold some tickets. Would have sold some subscriptions to the award-winning WWE network. But no. And I tweeted that out this week. And then people are like, oh, it could still happen. It could still happen. Just fucking do it. Why didn't they do it? Why did they wait so long? Why didn't they do it before? Is always the question that I'm going to have. Why did they not do this before? Why didn't they do it last year? Well, Bayley was injured. But that's the point. If you have all four women healthy and they're ready to go, that's the match. We'll see. One thing at a time. I'm not going to dance on that grave just yet. I'm going to wait for an official confirmation before we start going nuts here. I was reading tweets this morning regarding the New Japan Pro Wrestling press conference. Bunch of stuff that came out of it. It was their business strategy press conference earlier today at the Hisokan Theater. They discussed the multiple aspects of their business strategy for the rest of 2022 and some very, very juicy bits that came out of this. Very interesting stuff. There's some things that that are blatantly great, right? Just like out the gate, blatantly fantastic. Other stuff that maybe flew a little bit under the radar, but let's talk about it. Hey, Getcho Podcast is here. Nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. And I'm going to read the items here just off of the Figure 4 Online article here. First of all, New Japan Pro Wrestling will return to the United Kingdom in October this year. The date hasn't been specified. This is going to be their first return to the UK since 2019. And that's fantastic for UK fans. New Japan is very, very much appreciated. Over there, they have a great fan base, which is very well maintained by their association with Rev Pro on top of that. So that's good. Oh, you look great. Thank you. In regards to the G1 as well, there's going to be a G1 special show, and it's going to be an outdoor card held in Roppongi Hills on August 20 in conjunction with their media partner TV Asahi's Summer Station event. So I guess that's some kind of, big thrill, big celebration convention thing that TV Asahi, those bastards, they put on every time, which is cool because I think could it be that the last time New Japan did an outside event, and I'm talking about a stadium event, I'm really talking about something outside. I think it was like the Pirate Festival where Okada and Suzuki fought under the rain, right? If I'm not mistaken. That's pretty fun. That I'm looking forward to. Now let's get into some of the juicier stuff. There will be around 2 mixed tag team matches at the joint New Japan Stardom event on November 20th, held under traditional mixed tag rules where men are facing men and women are facing women. That's pretty fucking dope. That's cool as hell. Could you you could get Shuri and Okada in a tag team, which would rock, right? I get it. You got to keep them separated. Hey, come out and play, but still, still cool, right? And big step. But on top of this, the Bushiroad chairman, Takaki Kidani, stated that Stardom has come into the Bushiroad group 2.5 years ago and has exploded in growth. Soon, much like overseas, the Japanese scene will be genderless and more integrated. What is the chairman? Now, Bushiroad, of course, owns New Japan and Stardom, right? 2 separate companies under one umbrella. They've got the chairman of, the big spot where he's like, you know what? We're gonna start mixing some things together, right? We're gonna start putting maybe integrating a little less, not as much gender affiliations here. Now, I know this ticked off a lot of Joshi, Stardom purists with this news. I know it ticked off a lot of people because I've been told multiple times that New Japan shouldn't have women because the women have their own promotions and everything's fine. Everything's fine. And this doesn't mean that Stardom is suddenly going to shut down and all of a sudden they're going to become the women's division of New Japan. And I don't condone that. I don't think that's a good way to go about it, right? He talked about integration. Didn't talk about, absorption or, whatever else. But I don't think that's a good way to go about it. If that's the plan, I admit, I will admittedly say that it's a bad idea, pal. It won't work for me, brother, if suddenly Stardom becomes the women's division of New Japan. I don't think that's a good way to go. If you maintain, though, if you hold on to Stardom and Stardom events and you have New Japan and there's more crossover, that's dope as hell. Because I do think that the crossover will be beneficial for both promotions. Because then you'll see some faces on one, faces on the other. Why not send some dudes over on Stardom once in a while? Although I would assume that you would probably want to send more Stardom women to New Japan shows to attract more eyeballs to Stardom, because I have a feeling that that's probably where you'd want, that the potential for immediate growth is faster. If you go get the more numerous wrestling fans of New Japan, which are clearly in greater numbers, and you bring them in. So I think there's a lot more crossover. I think the crossover is very interesting, and it makes a lot of business sense to do it. It's something that, a lot of us were anticipating, expecting, but I know there's a lot of Stardom. I know there's a lot of Stardom yo-yos right now who are very, very mad and saying, they're destroying the culture and whatever. Let's do this. But here's a big news for us here in North America. Stardom talent will begin appearing in the New Japan Strong brand in the US. And that's dope as hell. And that's understanding. That's basically just understanding how the business works here in North America. And I promise you, just as much as, because New Japan they're not morons, right? Well, at least you'd assume that. At least Bushiroad are not morons. They see AEW bring in Maki Ito a couple of years ago. What 18 months ago? When was her first showing? Rick Poling, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Like they bring in Maki Ito one night, she becomes an instant sensation, right? And people immediately associate her with AEW. They bring in Yuka Sakazaki and she becomes a big deal as well. So they're like, what the hell are we doing? Why are we why aren't we getting this kind of exposure? Why isn't this happening? Why aren't our women getting, this star treatment here? Then Maki Ito becomes like this fixture, right? This well-known commodity. She's practically a household name among internet wrestling fans. Whether you like her or not, you absolutely know who Maki Ito is the point I'm trying to make. So if you, so clearly they're like, well, let's get some of our women on these cards. Because I swear, like, if you guys don't know about Tam Nakano, she's fantastic. Like, she is on the rise. If you don't know who Azumi is, we always talk about, Utami, we talk about Shuri, we talk about Mayu, and with good reason. They're fantastic. But if you want, if you see the younger girls coming in, and then you've got Kairi Sane. You've got Kairi Sane now. Like, as a crossover star that you could bring in on Strong and say, hey, American fans, remember her? Come see how awesome she really can be. It's like the Starlight Kid, yes, Jason PS3, very good, thank you as well. Like, Stardom has so many women that are extremely talented, and this is not taking anything away from Maki Ito or Yuka. They're fantastic as well. But you can absolutely see the same type of phenomenon happening. Of course, Strong is still a it's a New Japan World thing, right? It's not as if it's broadcast on TNT on Wednesday nights or TBS on Wednesday nights. I get it, you know? But still, cool as hell, you know? So that's really cool. What else did they announce? So that cheering is finally going to come back. Special sections will be set up with social distancing to allow cheering at events on September 5 and 6. I don't understand this anymore. And I've scoured the internet, and maybe someone in the chat can educate me properly in regards to this, because I don't understand this the non-cheering thing anymore in Japan, because you can literally go into restaurants now, sit down, take your masks off, and eat. But you go to a venue and you can't shout. I don't I tried to look for some reasonable explanations, and you know, probably they exist in Japanese and I'm not looking at the right places, but it doesn't make sense to me. Now, special section with social distancing, and in fucking September? Come on now. As for the G1 attendance, President Obari of New Japan said that in 2019, the G1 event sold 96,000 tickets, while the pandemic in 2020 saw that drop to 36,000. 2021 fell to 28,000. Those are not pretty numbers, but he said that they have exceeded 30,000 tickets sold for this year's G1 so far, with a goal of 50,000 set. Good for them. They're already better attendance than last year. Still not great numbers in comparison to 2019, but I think, look, we'll see it. We'll keep an eye on this. I've always told you guys, I feel like I feel like ticket prices are always a better indicator to the success of a show as opposed to ratings. But this is very personal, because I think the ratings is more of a business thing. Look, marketing thing is what I meant to say. Apologies. But that's very interesting. And they set a goal of 50,000, excuse me. There's probably still some social distancing. There's probably, the venues are probably still not at full capacity, which is why they're not targeting higher. Because if I were them, if I've already outsold my very shitty 2021 attendance, like, I'd at least try to get to the 96,000 for the G1 this year. But there are less shows too, right? There's not as many matches with the way they've set up with the 4. We've talked about this a couple of weeks ago. They talked about talent and recruiting as well, which was interesting. They're talking about, how New Japan has to, and Stardom have to adapt to societal changes in Japan, where people are staying in school longer and finishing older. So they have to adapt to that. So that's interesting. Spoke about the New Zealand dojo, and they plan to run events in Oceania, Australia, New Zealand, so on and so forth. And then they featured 3 stars to come and, push merch, be the faces of the company. Of course, three wrestlers, right? Of course they have Hiroshi Tanahashi. He's the ace of the company. He's the top guy. He's the face of the promotion. Everyone loves him. And he'll be the face of the new protein line, which is being introduced by Bushiroad as far as their Will Be Gym franchise. And he will consult on the brand as well. So our boy, Ace of the Universe, Hiroshi Tanahashi, developing his own line of protein shakes. Good for him. Hiromu Takahashi was the other wrestler there as well. He talked about trading cards. I'm not quite sure what that was about. But, 2 of their most marketable guys, right? Tanahashi, who, represents the classiness of the sport, Hiromu being, the wild side of it, the colorful extrovert. Two big guys. Who is the third guy that they brought in to tout something on that stage? Who could possibly be the third big star that they decided to put forward here, that they had enough trust in to say, you're going to come talk about this? Was it Kazuchika Okada? No, not the current IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. No. Was it Tetsuya Naito, longtime fan favorite? Nope. The returning Kushida, maybe. Nope, not Kushida either. Who then? Who? It was our boy, the Great Okan, who came to shill some merch and to put over the app, the Strong Spirits app. Great Okan. I've told you, guys and gals and non-binary pal, I've told you this for a while now. New Japan, they love them some Great Okan. They know he's a big guy. They know he can be a top star, and they're already putting him in these top star type situation. He had a match against Hiroshi Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom. If you think he's not going to be involved in something big by the end of the year, I don't know what to tell you. Gato loves the guy, and clearly the suits love him too. Despite the fact that he comes around and he comes to America and he rides giant mechanical penises. They just love him. Mark my words. This is the moment. This is the moment you get on the Great Okan train. Choo choo. There's going to be a music festival, a New Japan Pro Wrestling Music Festival. That I'm very curious about. And they're unfortunately going to get into NFTs. Womp womp. Can't win them all. So some very interesting stuff. Of course, the Stardom things really stand out for us here. Us in North America, I mean. Remarkable news that a lot of us didn't expect to see in our lifetime. Really did not. Tell your friends. Call them on the phone right now. I'm going to talk about Money in the Bank because we're starting the weekly wrestling inspection. Seamless. Money in the Bank 2021. So the MGM Grand Garden Arena on July 2nd hosted WWE's Money in the Bank 2022. Over 12,000 people in attendance. That's it. Over 2022, over 12,000 people in attendance took over here. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful said that the executives of WWE got some notes regarding the 2022 Money in the Bank show. Said it's the most viewed Money in the Bank event of all time. That's the news that we got. We have no idea how to verify that. How the hell are we supposed to verify that? We don't know. Like they could say, sure, but WWE doesn't release any. They've never released any numbers. Well, they used to. They did for a while. No, they've never released. No, for a while on the network they released subscription numbers. Then they stopped, but they've never released views. So we don't know. It could be true, could not be. Yeah, WWE never makes up numbers. On top of that, this is again notes from Fightful. On top of that, Money in the Bank 2022 generated the second highest gate in the show's history, with merchandise sales specifically being the highest in the event's history. Merchandise itself was up, are you ready for this? 95% from last year's, from the previous year's Money in the Bank. 95%. Bananas. That's crazy. 95% more in merch sales, right? Now, remember, this event was originally supposed to be held at the Allegiant Stadium, right, in Vegas, but then they moved to the MGM Grand Arena. WWE had originally sold, while they were still holding the show at the Allegiant, 16,826 tickets. You remember this. I talked about this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago when they did do the move. And they had planned a capacity of 25,000 people, which, of course, the reason why they were running a stadium and planning it for 25,000, they were like, well, if we start getting more people, right? If we start getting more people in here, then we'll be able to bump it up more, right? So of course, they planned 25,000, but they were ready for more anyway. According to WrestleTix, though, there were 12,076 people in attendance for the MGM Grand Arena show. And you will remember that WWE was offering refunds, for ticket holders. Were they? Yeah, they were. And they also had but they also had the like a pre-sale for people for the MGM Grand Arena for people who had previously purchased tickets from the Allegiant Stadium. So you could go in and buy your ticket ahead of time. So about 5,000 people out of those 16,000, more or less, decided to forego going to Money in the Bank at all, right? I mean, this is good news for WWE, right? Who needs Roman Reigns? Who needs Brock Lesnar? Who needs Cody Rhodes? This, if it made such good viewership numbers, if it made such a good business for them without any of these big stars, then who cares if Roman is there or not? And doesn't that kind of contradict a little bit, like all this stuff about Roman being this big of a needle mover? I don't know. Didn't even have Brock. They had all the, they had the cream of the upper mid card of WWE on the show. And it's interesting that this all happened for a fairly mediocre show. Now, like I said, look, I talked about, maybe I wasn't in the best of spirits watching the show. Maybe I was in the mood. Maybe I was a little cranky, but I kind of feel like, in the circle of people with whom I chat wrestling about, and looking at the reactions online, I kind of feel like I'm not off base. I don't feel like I'm being unfair here in regards to Money in the Bank. I don't think it was a good show. And I'm not going to break down the entire card because I honestly, I think there's more interesting things to talk about in wrestling, but I'm not going to break down every match, but there are things I do want to touch on. Look, let's start right ahead. The show opened with the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Liv Morgan defeated Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Becky Lynch, and Lacey Evans, and Raquel Rodriguez, and Shotzi Blackheart. Oh, apologies. We're not supposed to call her Blackheart anymore. She's so Liv Morgan became Ms. Money in the Bank in not a good ladder match. This was not a good ladder match. And I'm going to go one further. I'm going to push this one ahead a little bit. Not only was it a bad ladder match, I've achieved a level of undesirability in regards to promotions booking ladder matches. Now, I think we need a pause on ladder matches across the board. I think I don't even think it's a question of oversaturation. They're overdone at this point. You know, Liv did that one spot in the ladder match where I was like, oh, I don't remember ever seeing that. You know, when she's on the ladder and I can't remember who's teeting her, who's pushing her with the ladder off, and she lands on the top rope, like she extends her legs and like her left leg lands on the top rope and she uses it to bounce back. And I was like, oh shit, I don't remember seeing that. And I'm like, okay. But how? And then it dawned on me, like, how long has it been since I saw a really interesting ladder spot? You know, and we're at a point now where, you know, people are just setting up ladders everywhere and they're crashing onto them, so on and so forth. And it's not as dramatic anymore because we see them practically every week, every 2 weeks, every month. We really need a breather when it comes to ladder matches because they don't feel special anymore. And I think we get maybe a little extra judgmental because we just see so many of them. They lost their allure. They've been driven into the ground. And you can't even say it's a WWE problem. AEW has the same problem as well. I think the indies have that same problem too. We need to relax. We need to relax when it comes to ladder matches. I don't think there's that much value in them right now. Give them a breath. Let us as fans miss the ladder match so that when it does make a comeback, we'll be excited about it. Well, we'll talk about Liv in a minute or two. Then we had, and look, you know, ladder matches, so on and so forth is, you know, it's a thing. You know, I think, you know, there's a lot of hate that was directed towards a lot of women in this match, particularly Shotzi Blackheart, which I think is unwarranted. Everyone fucks up. Everyone messes up. And then, you know, I don't know if you follow this, but Shotzi deactivated her Twitter account with reason. She was being trashed for 3 days straight. My people calling her awful and telling her to kill herself and whatnot. I mean, look, it's a fucking wrestling match. And she fucked up some spots. What are you going to do? Calling her trash, a terrible wrestler? And here's the thing. I am familiar with Shotzi's wrestling pedigree. I've watched her on the Independents. I know what this is about. I know what she's capable of, right? And when it comes to Shotzi, okay, no, she's having, let me rephrase that. When it comes to Shotzi, clearly the WWE style is hampering her. She is not the Shotzi Blackheart that I remember from the indies. Absolutely not, in no way, shape, or form. She's anything but that cool anymore. And it's a shame to me. It's a shame. I think she's, and I think this is the case for a lot of women, a lot of wrestlers in general, who came up from the indies and are trying to adapt to the WWE style. And this is not the Shotzi that I know. And I am 100% convinced that this is her, that this is the consequence of her trying to get accustomed to this style when hers was a lot wilder, faster, much more breakneck, but not as contrived, I guess. Not as overproduced. You know, okay, the WWE style, there are some indie wrestlers that adapt to it. There are some that really do. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Matt Riddle, and that work within those confines and are very good with it, that have come up from the independents and did fantastic. And there's a litany of others. These are just I guess you could say to a degree Finn Balor, but Finn was in New Japan, but still it's a whole different style. WWE style is something completely different, right? And there are some people who are unable to shine in it because their strengths are being a pro wrestler, such as Claudio Castagnoli. Yeah, sure. The list is much longer of those who don't adapt to it. No, I'm good with that. I agree with that. It's Pluggo from Between Two Beards. Pluggo, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. You missed a chance at getting a gifted membership to the Mr. Warren Hayes show. You're this close. What match were we at? We were talking about we're still talking about the women's match. Let's move on. United States title match. Bobby Lashley defeated Austin Theory to become the new US champion. I still stand by everything I said while I was still watching WWE regular, because now I'm a casual watcher of WWE, which is exactly what WWE wants. I am still adamant that the Bobby Lashley push of 2020, 2021 was the best executed wrestler push of that entire sequence, of that entire year, whatever you want to call it. He was in the Hurt Business, as we recall, won the US championship, and was defeating the mid-carders left and right. And that's how you build a strong contender, right? That's how you build a big-time star. That's how you do it. You start with the guy, you put him on the mid-card, you let him tear shit up on the mid-card, right, as you're going forward. And then he gets too big for the mid-card, then moves up, beats the champion, becomes champion, and then he's, big main event material. But they couldn't maintain it with Lashley. They worked the better part of a year to get him to in a position where he was credible enough to beat Drew McIntyre, who up until that point was the main champion. He was the top guy. No one could dethrone him. But you had him destroying mid-carders as the US champion, drops the title in a three-way, which he was never pinned for. And he's like, you know what? I'm going straight for the big dog now. And he got his match with Drew and finally won, and so on and so forth. But see, this is the problem with WWE. They spend all this time building this guy into a legitimately credible top-level competitor, but then they don't capitalize on him. Then it's like, you're losing to Brock, and we're putting you in a thrilling feud against Omos. And then you're gonna go back to winning the US title. It's like, and Lashley is one of the serious guys that looks and acts the part that you could put, that properly built, again, which they had done, could be a guy to take Roman down. Anyway, this match was all right. I mean, there was nothing special about it. It was a Monday Night Raw main event. What do you want from me? I can't stand Austin Theory. I absolutely cannot stand him. And for me, it's literal change the channel heat he has with me. Bianca Belair defeated Carmella. I don't know if this is a circumstance of, well, I don't know what they had planned for Sasha and Naomi, right? And I don't know. We'll see what they have planned for the SummerSlam, because that's how I'm calling it now. By the way, because that's what Bret Hart used to call SummerSlam. He would call it the SummerSlam. So moving forward, since Bret has always been right on the MrWarrenHayes Show channel, moving forward, we are referring to that particular premium live event as the SummerSlam, which is its proper Christian name. Kevin Parvizi, how you doing, boss? Nice to see you. Welcome. So, look, I don't know what the plan here is, but this was clearly thrown together. Maybe because they had plans for Naomi. I don't know. I don't know what the plan here was. Carmella feels like a second banana in this in this thing, and I feel like all this time of her not wrestling, of her not being put on the back burner, and not being featured in top level matches and not wrestling top level women. I think she doesn't look as good as she has in the past, because Carmella always had this sneaky underdog energy about her that she could just come on in, tune in, and whoa, then it shocks you and surprises you. But this wasn't it. Bianca looked good. I mean, look, it's the situation. It's a match that barely made it over 7 minutes. What are you going to do? I think this was a losing situation here. Raw Tag Team title and SmackDown Tag Team title match where the Usos defeated the Street Profits. I feel like myself and many people on Twitter were not watching the same match. I know a lot of people loved the match, called it the match of the night. I will probably go down that route only because I don't think there's anything else that got the electricity that this match provided. I think this match could have benefited from not being over 20 minutes. I think it could have been a little shorter, because I think the heel spot was the heat spot for the heels was too long. I don't know. It didn't click that hard. People got excited for the false finishes, right? The kickouts. People always get excited for kickouts, and if the audience isn't getting excited for not kickouts but false finishes, then you've got a serious problem. People like it, and it's fine. But that's what everyone kept telling us, like, oh, the final part of the match when they were yeah. I don't know. I don't think it had a good structure. I don't think the structure was that great. And look, I'm going to put this to bed once and for all. This is my official position. Look, this is my official position on the who is better, the Usos or the Young Bucks debate. Okay? This is my official, this is the WarrenHayes position. I'm drawing the line. This is where I stand in regards to the better tag team. Who is better, the Usos and the Young Bucks? We will never know, because the Usos are big fish in a small pond. If the Usos could break out of WWE, go out and wrestle other teams, much more seasoned teams, in environments where tag teams are loved, respected, and I'm not just talking AEW. I mean, we're talking about the indies, with Japan. If we could actually see them go with other teams, I think we'd be in a better position to answer the question. As it stands right now, they are the best team in WWE. I'll give you that. But it is a very small pond. And I think it's easy to be the big fish in the WWE tag team division. I don't think it's that big of an accomplishment. So which one of the two are better? I don't know. And I don't think in good faith anyone can really answer either. I don't think you can say, because the Bucks are much more traveled. They've wrestled multiple styles in multiple places. I think they are extremely well-rounded and can adapt to everything. The Usos, I don't know. They work the WWE style. Maybe they could be better. Maybe they could break out, but we don't know. And I think I think that's an absolute fair response. The Young Bucks are a great tag team, don't get me wrong. And the Usos are a great tag team as well, don't get me wrong. But I honestly think we will never know just how good the Usos really are or could be. I don't think we'll ever know. Chat. Where were we? Oh, God. Ronda Rousey defeated Natalya to retain the SmackDown. This was a snooze fest. Ronda Rousey is terrible. She's terrible. All right? Terrible. And I'm not even, I know Natalya, I honestly do believe, and I'm on record on this, Natalya gets an inordinate amount of disrespect. Which I have trouble like pinning down. I don't know why people are so hard on Natalya. When you get fucking Ronda Rousey here, who is dull as a doornail in the ring. It's garbage. No, she lost the title, and I don't know if this was planned, if this was what they wanted to see happen, or if this is a reaction to her not getting reactions, not pushing merch. I don't know. Is she underperforming in the ratings? She's terrible. I saw the packages, the video package to hype this match, and at some point she's in the ring with Natalya saying, "Natalya, you are a charisma vacuum," and I'm like, this is exactly Ronda staring into the abyss here. Can you imagine? Pop Kettle Black, Jesus Christ. She's awful. She stinks. For the hype that she generates, for the everything that her presence in WWE entails, because WWE wants to make her the center of attention while everyone else is like, give us anyone else. Where the fuck is Sasha? Where the hell is Sasha Banks? We don't want Ronda Rousey. No one asked for Ronda Rousey. Collective groan when she came back. She barely could muster the energy to smile when she came back, then started pointing at the WrestleMania sign. Anyway, she loses the title, and we know what happens next. Liv runs down. And Ronda had a grueling match against Natalya, right? And her leg is hurt, so she's in a bad way. But Liv is cashing in, and she successfully cashes in, defeats Ronda Rousey, and this is in 32 seconds, and I'm cool with that. I am cool with Ronda Rousey historically in the books, in every journal, in every almanac of pro wrestling. We're going to have Liv Morgan defeating Ronda Rousey in 32 seconds. I'm okay with that. I am absolutely that's a nice little bomb there on the sunburn that is Ronda Rousey's presence. But look, I have a very complicated relationship with Liv Morgan, and it's not what you think. That's not what I mean. But I do have a very complicated relationship with Liv Morgan because I do believe, I really do believe she has true support from the fans. I think there is something organic to this push, but I think she does the underdog babyface thing very, very well. I think she connects with the audience in a very special way, and it's just one of these things. It's, as someone in the past would tell us, you can't teach that. It's just something that she has. I think she's not a great wrestler. I think she lacks fundamentals, and I saw it again. Like, Liv doesn't throw strikes. She, she doesn't do clotheslines. She jumps around. She performs moves. That's what she does. She moves. She does DDTs. She does Ranas. She does a whole bunch of shit. But she has no fundies. I shouldn't have said fundies. That sounds weird. She doesn't have any fundamentals. And that comes through. So, I was talking with Kristen about it the other night, when she won, and I'm like, look, Liv has this great underdog energy, and WWE loves an underdog. But like, if we look at recent examples of great underdog baby faces in WWE, you have to think back to Johnny Gargano. Gargano could go. Like, Gargano at the, Black and Gold, at the height of the DIY feud, I would argue he was one of the best workers in the world. And he didn't, he could follow up in the ring with compelling matches, which I don't think Liv can do. And I don't want to rain on anyone's parade, because I know there's a lot of Liv fans, and if there's one thing I've learned by hanging around Twitter is you definitely don't want to piss off Sasha fans, and I'm proud to be an honorary member of the Sasha Stan Army. But you don't want to piss off Liv Morgan fans either. So I do want to be very clear that I have very mixed feelings about her, because she does have stuff going for her, as opposed to many others that are currently employed by WWE, especially in 2.0. She has a lot of stuff going, and I think she has a good understanding of wrestling. That's not the problem. I think I feel like anyone who's throwing into this too hard is going to be disappointed, because I don't see WWE going forward with Liv Morgan in any way more solid than they did with Nikki Ash, because this is exactly the same thing. Nikki ASH won the Money in the Bank, and she did a sneaky cash in on a Monday Night Raw, and everyone popped. Oh, and here's the thing, right? But did you see the reaction Liv got? Everyone in WWE pops. Every WWE fan goes nuts at a cash in. They all do, because that's the attraction. But it's a one-time thing. Then what's the follow-up? What do you do after? Whoever it would have been, regardless who would have won, they would have got the same pop. And again, this is not to shit on anyone's parade. It's not to, I'm not trying to kick Liv Morgan in the down, but we just have to be consistent with this, because you can definitely go back and check the reaction that Nikki Ash got for her cash in. It's on the same level. Absolutely, right? everyone gets a big pop. So to me, that's not an indicator of anything. What are they going to do after? Well, look, she was on Raw on Monday in a tag match or something, and her team won. Her and Bianca, I think, wasn't. So out the gate, they're taking better care of her than they took care of Big E when he won the title, because he lost on his first out. So straight out the bat, there's a little, you can maybe feel a little more confident on that level. But ultimately, the issue is Liv is not going to hang on to this title very long. And WWE is not going to take her seriously as a champion. I'm very curious to see how they're going to set up whatever match they have prepared for her for Survivor Series, not Survivor Series, the SummerSlam. But I'm convinced she's losing at the SummerSlam. I don't think her title reign goes any further than that. She's not a champion that WWE is going to throw their weight behind. Hell, they didn't even have her plates ready on Monday. So I don't know, I feel like I'm pissing in people's cornflakes, because my timeline on Twitter is just filled with people retweeting Liv content with the belt, with photoshops of her with the belt and also whatever, like it's filled with Liv content. I'm just saying WWE has a historically proven record of being very, very iffy on people that they haven't shown previous confidence in. I wouldn't put any stock in Liv right now. Look, she had title opportunities in January against Becky, and she came up. Not only did she come up short, but her matches weren't even that good. This isn't the title reign that people are getting excited for. They're setting themselves up for disappointment. And I don't know why people don't learn their lesson here. She's a transitional champion. They have a plan for someone else. Wouldn't even be surprised if it's Charlotte. But they have a plan for someone else. And it might be Bayley. And I know Liv is well liked backstage. And she legitimately looks like she seems like a wonderful human. Wonderful person. But the reality is that she works for WWE and they don't give a shit. Let's see how she's treated on Friday. And when I say let's, I mean y'all, because I'm a casual viewer of WWE now. And Money in the Bank men's ladder match was the main event, where Austin Theory was added in last minute by Adam Pearce, and I don't understand this. I don't understand this at all. And it maybe it's because why did he do this? Why did Adam Pearce do this? Because here's the thing. This is the only thing. There's qualifying matches, and then there's re-qualifying matches, and the losers get to qualify again. All these qualifiers, then all of a sudden, now we'll just drop a guy in. When Adam Pearce came out, I promise you, and Kristen can attest to this, because we were watching it together. I said, they're bringing in Brock. And Kristen was like, that doesn't make sense. He has the main event already set with Roman. I said, they're bringing in Brock. That's the only thing. Like, I was like, they're doing this again. But no, they did it with Theory, who is the least interesting person on the roster. And I don't care. I don't care if they're building a new star with him or not. I don't think he's interesting. And he has a checkered past. He's a douchebag. I don't care for him at all. When that happened, I was like, hey, you know what? When I saw him come out, I was like, fantastic. I haven't watched the newest episode of The Boys yet. So honestly, I did not see it. I did not watch the match. Going to be completely transparent with you, but I understand the result. And this guy, he has the rocket strapped to him, Money in the Bank. He gets the big angle, right? Where he loses his match earlier in the evening, but then he gets pushed into the up higher on the card. And then he's going to be feuding with John Cena going into the SummerSlam. So I don't know what they see. I don't know what they see in him. I see so many talented guys on that roster and who are proven commodities and who should be pushed higher up into the main event. And instead they're deciding to go with this guy. And I don't see it. I just do not see it. I don't get it. Let's wrap this up with the weekly Dynamite review. Strap in, folks. I think this was a mixed bag. I think overall Dynamite last night had nothing was great. The best stuff was solid, and everything else sort of went to, it's fine, it's all right, to just like, it's a transitional show that we sat through last night, and definitely not to the standard that we usually expect from Dynamite. A lot of storytelling going on. Let's talk about it. Starting off with a big moment, Wardlow defeating Scorpio Sky to become the new AEW TNT champion in a street fight match. Look, I thought the match itself, I thought it was fine. I don't think it was, it was all right. It was fine. But what it served to do, this is what this match was for. It was to continue establishing Wardlow as a force of nature and as a guy that you need to get behind as the viewing audience, right? Because we've heard the doomsayers, the naysayers. We've heard, they haven't done anything with Wardlow in the past couple of weeks. They've cooled him off. He's dead, right? Kind of thing, right? That's the thing. That's always what you hear. And by the way, wait a second. And I'm sick of hearing about this. I mean, I'm sick of these weird prognosticators who are like, 2 weeks he's not on TV, he's dead. Because I'm on record. I told you this a couple of weeks ago when they did the 20-on-1 match. I thought it was a flop. I didn't think they did good. I think there was another way to approach it. I think the execution was poor. And I said, this is the first misstep in handling Wardlow's push. I'm absolutely, you can go back and listen to it. I'm absolutely on record. Then what did they do? They took him off TV. Gave him some pre-tape, but they were like, you know what? Let's leave this one breathe. Smart. Because the next time you pull him out, it's to strap him. Smart stuff. And I'm going to tell you, I'm really, really sick of people pretending to understand what they're watching, pretending to understand how wrestling works because they've been watching WWE, which is not wrestling. The WWE continuously tells us, and their fans keep telling us as well, keeps telling me, it's sports entertainment, Warren. Stop comparing it to wrestling. It's sports entertainment. It's not the same thing. All right, fine. So let's talk about pro wrestling here. you guys, I didn't have a chance to talk about this last week, but the whole Forbidden Door experience has been detrimental to me in understanding that there are so many people out there who have podcasts like myself, who are in places of media authority, let's put it that way, who seem to position themselves as understanding how the business works, but don't. They'll tell you, they'll be sitting at their podcast microphone or in front of their keyboard, typing out words to tell you, the viewer, the reader, that Forbidden Door is going to fail, is going to do 90,000 views. It's going to be a disaster of a show. No one's going to ever want this again. No one knows who these Japanese wrestlers are. We need we need 4-minute packages of explaining to us who these people are. No one knows who they are. And it turns out, how did this turn out? How did Forbidden Door turn out? Forbidden Door turned out to be a massive gate. What, 1.2 million gate? 127,000 pay-per-view buys? And then the Dynamite following the pay-per-view hits over 1 million in ratings, 1.1 million, something like that. That, folks, that is everything you need to know in regards to whether an event was successful or not. Plus, the Forbidden Door is a critical success as well. I haven't read a reviewer, any of the reviewers that I follow, that I trust, that I enjoy. I haven't seen anyone say this was a terrible show. I've seen glowing reviews. I've seen great reviews. Pay-per-view of the decade, so on and so forth, all sorts of levels. But anyone who's been telling you, that you've been listening to, following on Twitter, that you're subscribed to, that has been telling you that Forbidden Door was going to fail up until the show is proof that they have no idea what they're talking about, that they do not understand wrestling. It's proof. And they're not worth your time. They're grifting you. They've got an agenda. Whatever. They're saying things that a certain subset of fans want to hear. Whatever it is. That's not proper analysis. Anyone with a brain knew this was going to work out. The show sold out in minutes. And as I said in my preview, were the matches great? Was the setup fantastic? Is the end result what we expected? No, absolutely not. This is not what we expected. The card we got is not the card we wanted, but Jesus Christ, what a show. Million view, 127,000 buys. I had people saying it won't break 90,000. I heard a bunch of analysts saying if it breaks 100,000, it's a success. 127,000. I overshot. I said, you know what? I think my floor, 140,000. That's what I had called. That bullish, I was at 160, 165, something like that. But I said, I think my floor is 140. I'm not that far off. A little off, but not that far. I don't want to toot my horn all that much. If you're a regular listener, viewer, you know I've been telling you guys as we kept moving forward, this show will not fail business-wise. Quality, it did not fail either. No reason that this card, there was too much talent on this card to begin with for it to stink. But everything ruled. You don't think they're doing a second one next year? Are you nuts? You don't think they're going to do this next year? You don't think Tony Khan is scratching his head right now and he's going, should we go for a stadium? You don't think he's thinking that? You don't think he's talking with Obari right now in New Japan and Obari saying, could we do Forbidden Door in Tokyo next year? Come on. And anyone, and I swear, anyone who was out there bitching and complaining week after week, I don't know who this is. I don't know who this is. But it's only going to be men who want this show. It doesn't please the women. It's a bunch of nerds who want this. I think that, look, there are things that AEW could have done better. And Tony Khan has talked about it and said, look, I was negotiating and we were rushed and the injuries, and I can understand that throws all sorts of monkey wrenches into all sorts of plans. Maybe he would have liked to have Kazuchika Okada a couple of weeks before. Absolutely. 100% in agreement. But anyone who was up until that point telling you nothing but bullshit about how this was failing and it was no good, despite the fact that the Japanese talent shows up on Dynamite and people are popping out of their seats. Kazuchika Okada shows up on the Go Home show. You hear the coin drop from his theme. People immediately, huge pop, trembling. They know who these people are. Maybe AEW could have done a better job, and I'm completely okay with that. But anyone pretending to be any kind of wrestling connoisseur, analyst out there who is telling you that people don't know what's going on, they don't understand, that are telling you that you're stupid, do not deserve your time. Don't stand for being told that you're too dumb to understand what's going on. We had someone 2 weeks ago in the chat who was in this very chat saying something to the effect of, I tuned in, I didn't know who this guy was, but I looked him up, or something to that effect. And that's what it's about. Even if you don't know who it is, you can go do a little research. When they were bringing Great Muta onto Nitro in the 90s, we didn't have Google to figure out who this guy was. And if you weren't into tape trading, you probably didn't know who he was. But you had Mike Tenay, who was there to tell you that, he's a big timer in New Japan, former IWGP champion, and so on and so forth. And you're like, oh, okay, this is a big guy, a big deal. Jushin Thunder Liger. Oh yeah, okay. He's also. Just stop letting these people tell you that you're idiots. I will never steer you wrong. Intentionally. No, but for real, like I don't pretend to have like this deep scientific knowledge of business operations, but I've been around wrestling long enough to understand behaviors, to understand how the greater scheme of things comes together. If AEW had decided to do a cross-promotional event with Game Changer Wrestling, it would have been cool, don't get me wrong. That still would be cool, but it wouldn't have it's not the same impact. Then I wouldn't be sitting here telling you, well, I think we're going to get to 120,000 papes here? I don't know. It's not the same level. What's my camera? What's going on? I'm telling you, this new setup tonight. Anyway, back to Wardlow. Wardlow winning. this was a fine little match. You know, the rumor is that Scorpio Sky had been working injured, right? And I think this was set up to sort of mask that, maybe. You know, especially having America Top Team dweebs in so that Wardlow could throw around. Like, I think this was all properly put together so that our boy Sky could benefit from a little smoke and mirrors here, because I think he's another guy who's suffering the injury bug as well. So there's a powerbomb symphony that happens, and there we go. Little post-mortem on Scorpio Sky's championship run, which I often like to do. So this was this reign here was the second time he ran with the TNT title after regaining it 2 weeks after losing it to Sammy Guevara. In his first run, he beat Sammy for the belt, then defeated Wardlow, but of course there were shenanigans involved in that time. Then lost to Sammy at Battle of the Belts 2. Then during his second run, after defeating Sammy again for the belt, he defeated Frankie Kazarian, Dante Martin, and then lost to Wardlow. He never defended his title on pay-per-view, despite the combined total 107-day run with the title. Overall, I would consider his title run to be lackluster. I think that there were a lot of panic decisions that were made around the TNT title once Cody left that I think hurt the title, but also hurt those who held it. I think Sammy was on the ass end of that as well, and Scorpio Sky too. Weird decision to turn Scorpio Sky heel again after like becoming super baby face with naturally turned Sammy Guevara. I think it's a very weird decision, a very, very weird decision to do. I think it probably would have been more successful. There probably would have been a lot more juice to squeeze out of this one had he been a babyface. I don't know why they did it. I really don't. Wardlow, though, champion. It works for me. And as I was saying, look, all these people saying Wardlow's cooled off, you know, it's like, oh, he's not hot anymore. Look at the reaction when he won. Look at when he started doing. People love Wardlow. He is absolutely fine. His entire push has been fantastic from top to bottom. So this reign, his reign right here, it needs a sustained long-term run. I think there is some rehabilitation that can be done to the TNT title here. But see, this is the issue here. Can Wardlow careen through a whole bunch of opponents moving forward, right? This is where I'm interested to see where they're going to go with this. Can he go? He can just like keep plowing through opponents one after the other moving forward. He's going to have to get some challenges. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of mix we get here. And of course, people are already talking about who's going to defeat him. And I'm like, Jesus, let the guy walk out with the strap at least once. You know what I mean? And, well, look, if you ask me, I think it's Miro. I think Wardlow Miro is the match. But we're already talking about who's going to take the belt off. Anyway, a final match. During the evening, we had the first of two backstage segments with Mark Sterling and Tony Nese. I'm going to combine both of them here because we had another one later on. He's walking around with a petition to get Shane Swerve Strickland. Shane Swerve Strickland. He's got a petition to get Swerve fired, is what I'm trying to say. And comes up to Keith Lee saying, he backstabbed you. Why don't you get and Keith Lee's like, I ain't signing that. What are you talking about? Then later on, he runs into Orange Cassidy to try and get him to sign it. And Orange Cassidy says, I'm not signing anything without my lawyer present. Who is his lawyer? It's Danhausen, who has this great exchange with Orange Cassidy and Sterling, with legal lingo and mumbo jumbo. I thought it was pretty funny. But this set up Orange Cassidy versus Tony Nese at Rampage. So, and if Tony wins, then Orange Cassidy has to sign the petition. But he can also sign an opinion if he wants. Because technically a petition is an opinion. It's you're agreeing with this opinion here where, I'm of the opinion that Swerve should be fired. Yes, I agree. Let me sign here, kind of thing. It's like making your opinion really official. All right, the Christian promo. I'm not gonna break it down. I'm not gonna walk us through it. You know what happened, and Matt Hardy showed up. Y'all know what happened. And the issue I have with the promo is that he being Christian started talking about how much Jeff Hardy started ranting on Jeff Hardy and how much of an embarrassment he is to Matt and so on and so forth. This will come to the shock of no one who's been a longtime listener, and even people who've been, who listened to me when I was at Fightful. This will come to the surprise of no one that I don't like this. I don't like it at all. There's nothing I don't like. There's nothing I like about this. Because Jeff is currently suffering. He is right in the middle of it all. Like, he's currently in trouble. His own self and legally as well. I think this is extremely crass. And it's not it. I may have overlooked it and just be like, okay, if it had been a one-off comment, just like because Christian said something to the effect, you're starting to make your brother sound like the sober one, right? I'm like, oh, okay, that's fucking nasty, but okay. It's kind of like when he used the Marco line, like, remember what happened to Marco when he said that to Luchasaurus, right? It's a one-off thing, and you're like, okay, we never reference it again. But no, Christian doubled down on it. He tripled down on it. Told Matt, you turned a blind eye to your brother's issues for one last run. Matt is more embarrassing to the family than his screw-up brother. Like this, Jeff is in trouble. He's in a crisis. He's in crisis right now. And let's recap, right? Just to make sure that we get this. Just 2 weeks ago, Jeff Hardy was charged after being arrested for driving under the influence following a traffic stop on June 13th. Authorities said Hardy's blood alcohol level was more than 3 times the legal limit. The charges against Hardy include a third DUI offense within 10 years, which is a felony in the state of Florida. Hardy is also charged with driving with a suspended or revoked license and a violation of restrictions placed on his driver's license. This matter isn't even resolved. He has a court date placed on August 8th. He's pleading not guilty. As I said, he is currently in crisis. A legal crisis, a mental crisis, a physical crisis. But no, let's go right ahead and let's make an angle out of it. Let's do it. Now, I know it's hard to understand, but an addict's brain functions differently than yours and mine. It's wired to find itself into situations where it can get the fix and get what's missing, whether it be alcohol, drugs, whatever. That's how an addict's brain works. And you look as an addict, you will look for reasons to justify what you're doing. Maybe Jeff is like, look, they're using it for heat. It's great. And this is blurring reality with fiction. And I've said it multiple times in all sorts of circumstances. Once you start doing that, it is usually a sign of creative bankruptcy. And a lot of people don't like that. But for some reason, this is okay. Right? There's a little... When you hear about the MJF stuff and when we start talking about shoot promos and I wish they kept that apart, But then this stuff happens like, nah. I'm sure everyone was okay with this. I'm sure that they got all the permissions needed. Who the fuck cares? Who cares if everyone was okay with this? As if a boneheaded decision can only be taken by one person. You can make stupid decisions in a committee. Doesn't excuse anything. Think this is good for Jeff? Jeff said it was all right. Jeff's not well. That's the thing a lot of people can't wrap their heads around. And I'm probably doubly shocked here because I expect more. I expect better out of AEW. I didn't expect to see this kind of shit happen. Not this level. As I think this is trash. And yes, I'm going hard and I'm pumping the brakes on this because I don't want this to become a thing. I don't want this to become... No, it's not a long-term angle like they did with Jeff Hardy and Sheamus back then. And if you remember, if y'all were around when I was doing the SmackDown post shows with Sean over on Fightful, week in and week out, I buried the fucking thing. This was trash. Because Jeff he's out of rehab. He's doing better. And we're going to present him, we're going to put him in these types of situations where he has to relive decisions he's made or put him in places where he's like, he should not be, where he shouldn't be around bottles and bullshit like that. And they made a whole fucking long angle out of it, and I hated every second of it. Am I going hard here? Yes. Do you know why? Because I expect better. Because what WWE did, that's the kind of bullshit that I'm like, yeah, well, it's, it's on par with what they usually do. It's in character for WWE to do this kind of bullshit angle. AEW, though, I'm shocked. I'm a little shocked. And this is a promotion that gave time to Jon Moxley coming out of his rehab, straight out the gate on a Dynamite. To just tell the fans what happened, what's going on, to show some vulnerability. To put a guy who went through a struggle and is doing everything he can to pull himself out of it. Went to rehab, got himself back into shape, got his head screwed back on tight. He's in recovery. And he's put in a position for us to applaud him. A guy in the audience heckling him. And Jon Moxley calls them out and people cheer in the audience. And now we're going to shame Jeff Hardy. We're going to do a complete 160. We're going to let Moxley show some vulnerability and be applauded for it. But Jeff, we're going to shit on. Is that what I'm understanding? This is what we're going to do here, right? Guys, I don't know if you realize that this is the legacy of Jeff Hardy now. Wherever he goes, he's the drunk. He's the guy who can't control himself. This is Jeff Hardy's legacy. This is what, because we can't separate the conversations anymore. Oh, well, it's wrestling, there's always a bit of reality. When there's always a little bit, really? I don't know. I'm not ready to say that. There sometimes is. But these people are supposed to be characters in a fictional setting, and you're bringing in very, very, very real issues, terrible issues that are affecting a man who is a performer, a father, a husband, a brother. If you can't see this for being fucking callous, to be capitalizing on this, to be using this in a fucking angle, I don't know what to tell you. You got to do what you got to do to get over. What the fuck does Christian have to... What? Christian? Matt Hardy? Getting over? What the fuck are you talking about? We all said the same things when Scott Hall started playing off of it, the fact that he was drunk. When his own struggle with demons back in the 90s were starting to be very, very prevalent. Well, then he drunk Scott Hall, right? And Road Warrior Hawk, right? Same thing when he climbed the Titantron to threaten to kill himself, to throw himself off, right? All these jolly, wonderful times, all these great, memorable moments that really helped those characters get over, right? Those were crucial moments in the history of the legacies of Scott Hall and Road Warrior Hawk that really elevated their careers, right? It's so weird to me that we still lean into this bullshit in an industry that has a very, very precocious relationship with addiction, with alcoholism, with prescription medication, with steroids. And we're just throwing this out. Angles. It's entertainment. This is Jeff's fucking real life. 3 times. 3 times the level of alcohol in his bloodstream. He could have killed himself. He could have killed someone else. He could have pulled a Sonny. And is that the moment it becomes serious and then it's persona non grata and then we don't talk about it anymore? No, we can't pull this in an angle anymore because now it's tragic. It's tragic already. I hope to hell. And I said this back then with the Sheamus thing, and I'm saying it again. I hope to hell that nothing truly tragic happens to Jeff. I really don't. Because we are all going to look back at everything going on here and we're going to be like, man, why didn't we do anything? Why weren't people accepting of this? Man, history is going to reflect extremely poorly. Because Jeff has a legitimate problem. He has a legitimate problem. And I think the wrestling business is not good for him. Because he got his act back together before getting back to WWE. And now look at where he is. Look at where he's back. He's back to the same problems, back to the same issues. I swear, we're going to look back on this in 20 years, just like with Scott Hall, just like with Road Warrior Hawk. And we're going to be like, yeah, man, this was poor taste. This sucked. This should have never happened. Because we're validating. We're enabling. As weird as it sounds, this is enabling. This is not a condemnation of what he's... If it was a condemnation of what Jeff is doing, Jeff would be persona non grata right now. He wouldn't be mentioned at all. And it's cheap heat. If you can agree to disagree with everything I just said, and I don't care whatever you, because this is something I sincerely and truly believe. But we have to come to terms with the fact that this, at the very least, at its very basic core, this is cheap heat, and Christian is better than that. He's much better than that. And I'll tell you what, one thing Christian got right in his promo. He got one thing right in his promo. And that's the thing where he said Matt was just riding Jeff's coattails. Because it was a creatively bankrupt decision to set up a throwaway match between Luchasaurus and Matt Hardy, for fuck's sake. To give it some, it has to have some kind of heat. Let's move on. Claudio and Jake Hager are standing face to face. They're looking menacing. You remember they used to be this great tag team in WWE? Said he isn't as tough. And he's never been a world champion. Hager says this to Claudio. He says, you've never been a world champion, not in Ring of Honor, not in WWE. Unlike myself. And you'll never be a world champion in AEW. And I'm like, there we go. There's the thing. This is the seed that's been planted, folks. Claudio Castagnoli is going to be an AEW world champion, mark my words. I like this. I like the confrontation, made sense. But people keep telling me, you know what? This match is going to be good. Hager's been improving. And I'm like, what? Hager's been improving? How do because he's been hitting his spots in these multi-man matches that he's been doing? Okay. Where is this grand revelation that Jake Hager is suddenly like, he's been improving, he's so good now? When did this happen? Where are these extraordinary singles matches that will change my mind? Look, Claudio could get a good match out of anyone. So, he's about to prove it. If you ask me, because I don't know what people are talking about. And we had a tag team match. Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland defeated the Butcher and the Blade. This is a fine match. Nothing special. It was all right. Lee tosses Blade into Butcher. Lee accidentally then pounces Swerve. We get some great near falls from Butcher and Blade. The hometown Rochester crowd are excited. They do this thrown knee strike combo and a pumping bomber by Butcher as well. But Swerve in their glory get the win, and I'm kind of surprised. Butcher and the Blade didn't get the hometown win here. Perpetuate Keith Lee and Swerve, being at odds, but then I started to understand, this is why they did it. I get it. Now, Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs come out call themselves grown-ass men, and Starks goes nuts. What a fucking great promo this guy is. Ricky Starks, man. Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks is everything WWE would want Austin Theory to be. I'm telling you. He goes nuts about Lee and Swerve being on lower levels than them and so on and so forth. But then the Young Bucks come out and they say, look, we're the best tag team. And they make a 3-way match for next week at the Fighter Fest show. And another 3-way. I'm like, that's all we've been having for the tag teams recently. I'm not into it. I'm not into it all that much. I'm not going to lie. Love the spontaneous FTR chants though. When the Bucks come out and they start talking about, best tag teams and whatnot, and people immediately jump into FTR chants. Chef's kiss. See, FTR got themselves over by wrestling. This is the biggest push that they've got in their entire career, and they're making the most of it by wrestling, not by cutting asinine promos. Just want to point that out. We get a pre-tape backstage, Malachi Black for Brody King. Then Eddie Kingston hits the ring with Tony Schiavone, congratulates the Blood and Guts team for their victory last week. And even Claudio, what did he say? He says, I'm getting older, I'm maturing. Which got a good laugh out of me. And Jericho then appears on the Tonytron, and he and the Jericho Appreciation Society with Ty Conti, of course, she's in that too. They ambush Ruby Soho and slam a car door on her arm. The execution maybe wasn't all there, but you get the idea. John Bello, nice to see you and welcome to the chat. Everyone who's left of the Dark Order is in the ring. There are like 6 of them now. And they're there with Brody Jr. too. Uno says that this is a new beginning for the Dark Order. And there's a proclamation, and Brody Jr. should be the one who says it. But QT Marshall comes out to interrupt, and he says he wants to fight -1, -1. He wants to fight Brody. He wants to fight a fucking 10-year-old. And he tells everyone, get out of the ring. I'm going to beat this kid up. Hangman Page's music hits. He runs in, grabs QT and sends him into the Dark Order, who then ping-pong him with all sorts of offense. Of course, they're doing this because it's Rochester, Brody Lee, the connection. Anyway, they beat the shit out of QT. And then they give the mic to Brody Jr., who says, I'm not going to pin you. I'm going to wait till I'm 19. There you go. I think that's cool. Look, I think they should do this. But look, I love the Dark Order. I have always been a big fan of them. I don't know what the Dark Order is anymore though. Are they still the lovable goofballs? What are they? Like, I don't know what they are anymore. That's my only thing. But, if you are going to, this is fine. You do this segment in Rochester for all the appropriate reasons, and it was fine. It was fine. Got Hangman out. Hangman still loves his Dark Order buddies. It's fine. Kurt Meister, welcome to the chat. Let's see. Jim Ross then comes out on commentary. They started doing this now. He doesn't do the full shows. He does Rampage. They're putting him on Rampage now. Anyway, he comes out to do commentary right on time for a lucha match, which is a choice. Jim Ross calling Lucha. All right. And that match was Rush defeating Penta Oscuro. This was pretty fun. Lucha arm drags by Penta on the floor. Back in the ring, he eats a huge forearm by Rush. Topic on Hilo by Penta. German by Rush. And a great snap power slam as well. Open hand chops, headbutts. A leaping knee strike by Rush and a senton bomb. Penta hits the rolling cutter and the fear factor, but Andrade puts Rush's foot on the ropes. There's a distraction, a low blow by Rush. Mask of Penta is taken off. He's completely vulnerable. Plus his nuts hurt. Penta eats the pin here. Great stuff. Well, not great. It was fun. It was a fun match, but not great. Fun. Then we get the Acclaimed and the Gun Club defeating Fuego del Sol and Roughing It. Of course, the team of Bear Bronson and Leon Ruffin. I'm glad that we are moving on from this. I know I am in the 1% of people who was systematically annoyed at everything the Acclaimed and the Ass Boys were doing together. I'm not even a fan of Max Caster, and I'm on record with this. This is not like, I think, the raps, whatever. Maybe I've seen this before, but you know what? It's all been too sports entertaining for my tastes. This whole Acclaimed Gun Club stuff. I wasn't into it. And I know a lot of people are heartbroken and disappointed and whatever. I'm just glad we're moving on. And the Acclaimed are turning babyface. And look, I'm an Anthony Bowens guy. Anthony Bowens, my dude. I love Anthony Bowens. Everyone else is like just. Austin Gunn is he's just waiting for Bruce Pritchard to give him a call. So we're just moving on from this, and that it does nothing, and it's fine if you like it. There's no real fault to it. It just annoys me. This is not. It's not what I really like in wrestling. You know what I mean? Especially since, I think the Gun Club and the Acclaimed are average. I think they're very, very average wrestlers. So it's like I don't see. There's nothing that's getting me excited about this. I'm like, let's just move on. Anthony Bowens, though, he rules. We get a great Miro pre-tape promo. And look, honestly, let's be honest with each other. If you are not on board with Miro promos, we can't be friends. I'm kidding. We can be friends anyway. But man. And we had a tag team match where Marina Shafir and Nyla Rose took on Thunderstorm. I don't know what that's about. Well, I do know what it's about. They gave themselves a name. Look, fun little match. It was all right. Shafir and Nyla came out with umbrellas because of a thunderstorm. You get it? Hurricane Rana by Tony Storm. And a drop toe hold, assisted missile dropkick by Rosa, double snap suplex by the baby faces. Lots of quick in and out tags. Shafir is eating it early on. Nyla Rose hits Storm with an umbrella though. Shafir hits a fireman's carry slam and the heels are in control for a while. Senton by Nyla, but then there's a flying crossbody by Thunder Rosa. Rosa hits the running basement dropkick twice, goes for the third time, but runs into a Nyla Rose Uranagi instead. Pump handle throw by Shafir, hip attack by Thunder Rosa, and the planted Thunder Fire Driver gets the win for the babyface. Fun little match. It was fine. I'm okay with, I saw people as, why is the women's world champion in the tag teams? She has a friend. Why couldn't she have a friend? And they get along well with each other. They had their match. There's respect. And they decided to form a tag team and give themselves a cute name. But that doesn't mean she's in a tag team. And if we're going to get more women on TV, that's fine. More reps. Let's do it. Jade Cargill tells Stokely Hathaway to cut the shit. No, she tells Tony to cut the shit. And then turns to Stoke and says, what the hell's going on? Then he says he's hired Layla Gray as an interim baddie, which is Stokely taking a proper, just a nice little comedic shot at the Tony Khan and his love for interim stuff. And he says, it's to even up the numbers, it's like, I prefer 3-on-2 than on 2-on-2, so on and so forth. But no one's really convinced that Layla Gray belongs in the group. And even Stoke is like, he puts his arm around her and she like shrugs him off. And just brilliant Stokely stuff again. Daniel Garcia cuts a promo on Wheeler Yuta backstage to set up a match of Death Before Dishonor for the Pure Championship. If you have not seen the Iron Man match that Wheeler and Garcia put on last year at a Beyond show for the independent wrestling title, before all these beautiful dudes got called up to AEW, you should go check that out, because that will definitely wet your whistle for this Pure match. And that was fantastic stuff. And FTR cut a promo on how they want the Briscoes versus FTR 2 at Death Before Dishonor. And this is what I wanted to talk about earlier with the super chat from Throwback. This is the difference here. Like, I saw a lot of already, they're running this back already. Why not? If you have, look, I saw no one be mad about this. I saw people going, this is strange that you're running it so soon. Why wouldn't you? What's the alternative? If the guys are healthy, they're good to go, they're ready to go, do the match. Otherwise, you can wait like the other company does, and you never capitalize on the matches that you have at hand. Go for it. I'm okay with this. Run it again. It probably won't. Look, I don't even want to. I was going to say something stupid. I don't even want to do any speculation at this point. Plus, it works to bring the Briscoes in, right? You got to have some of that real deal Ring of Honor talent, right? Like the Briscoes, who aren't in AEW but have that Ring of Honor connection, right? And in our main event, Jon Moxley defeated Brody King to retain the interim AEW World title. It was a fun little match. Solid, but, missing that second gear. You know what I mean? Brody King is in control early on. He's got lariats and forearms, and Mox is selling the fact that BK he's a huge hill to climb. Like, he's just selling those shots. They fight on the floor, back body drop by King, tosses Moxley over a table. Back in the ring, Mox starts to work the legs of King. They trade some strikes, a boss man slam by Brody King, huge chop as well. Moxley avoids the corner cannonball. Instead, he does his corner back rake, the bite, and the superplex. Dragon suplex follows up, the head stomps. There's a forearm exchange and a huge lariat by Brody King, followed by a pile driver. He sits on the top rope corner and he chokes Mox. The running corner cannonball connects this time, but paradigm shift, hammer and anvil shots, and the bulldog choke. Get the win for Jonathan Moxley. Like I said, fun little main event, but just missed that second gear. There was something missing. On an all right show, like I said, mixed bag. Nothing really stood out. Nothing was terrible either. You know, the kind of stuff that happens sometimes. And that wraps up the weekly wrestling inspection. Oh, just as we're wrapping up, I want to say hello to Kristen Ashley, the first lady of the Mr. Warren Hayes show. Yeah. All right, look, I know I'm behind on the nice things about Bill Goldberg because I missed a couple of weeks. I will catch up. Trust me. I'm true to my word. 52 nice things. There will be 52 nice things said about Bill Goldberg. People are insufferable. But still, you people are very nice to have hung out here and listened to the Mr. Warren Hayes show to its completion. If you are watching this on demand right now, do consider leaving a like, subscribing to the Mr. Warren Hayes show channel, becoming a member as well. All that stuff is very much appreciated. Listening to this on your favorite podcast application, 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, 5-star ratings on Spotify, anything to show some love on your podcast app. That stuff really, really helps grow the podcast quite a bit. In the meantime, thank you everyone for joining me this evening. I hope you have a great rest of your week and you enjoy all the wrestling that is still coming up our way. If everything goes well, we'll see each other next week. Thanks for being here. See you next time.